Guys, we're back.
Yep, still
We
here.
are back.
Better than ever. What song am I thinking of there?
I have no idea.
Oh, I'm thinking of Eric Bischoff's theme from
Do you want
WWE.
to sing
okay.
the rest of the song, and that
No.
will be our new intro?
No, I think that's fine.
Copyright infringement.
Okay, we'll
I
change
mean,
a
hey.
couple words. No one will notice.
Yeah.
Hey, go Habs, go! Cam Hillis. I'm so happy that he signed. We'll talk about that next episode.
Sunday.
Anyway, guys, before I turn this off to Alex, I pass it to Alex because it's Bizarre Adventures. I asked if I could start the show by wishing a happy birthday to one of my best friends, a guy I consider like a brother to me, a guy named Ethan McKay. Ethan, I've been trying to get you to listen to the podcast. You haven't yet, you
Unbelievable.
cheeky guy. So, but happy birthday regardless, my friend. I love you. That's Alex. Why don't
happy
you?
birthday.
Actually, wait.
Happy birthday, Ethan.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
you
Ethan.
better
Hope
listen
you
to
will
the-
so-
You better
Yeah.
listen to this podcast. Just this one.
Yeah.
And then if you like
this
it,
episode.
if you like it, keep listening.
Tell your
Like
friends
it.
and family.
If
Yeah.
you don't, I understand.
Actually, before we go on to the show itself, Alex,
Oh.
how about you tell everyone the big news that we've been
The big
teasing?
news. So we are now on a platform called Voice Ed. They do a lot of work with education type programs, and they do a lot of work with like student voices. And we all happen to be students at Ryerson University.
Yeah.
Journalism students, all three of us. And we are now on their platform. This podcast is now on Voice Ed. I'll leave the website down in the description below. You should go check it out. Check out some other podcasts on the website. They also have like live radio, it's called internet radio. So be sure to check out the website.
hmm
Yeah.
We love them for giving
Yay.
community. I love everyone
Yes.
at Voice Ed.
Thank
This
you.
is a big step. When Alex first sent me it, and you sent me the official image of our show being on there,
Yeah.
and I wanted to shed a tear or two. It's like, damn, it's pretty wicked.
We
So
made it.
hey,
After my months of being the traveling salesman for this podcast, I'm happy I'm here full time now.
Daniel's is our Todd Packer.
who's
No.
yeah, who's ready to make the joke? This guy. Hey.
We don't have
Hey.
a Michael Scott though. That's what we're missing.
I mean,
We're all Michael Scott deep down. How?
Yeah, deep down.
yeah, I can see that.
We all make
I think that-
cringeworthy jokes.
I know, and we don't care about timing or anything. We just make
That's
them.
true. That's true.
Okay, if we're talking about timing and who doesn't respect timing, Daniel, I think you're trying.
Just try to cover it up. He's just trying to cover it up.
Yeah. All of us, yes.
Yes.
I think
yes.
if we're describing the lack of timing, that's Daniel. If we're talking about bad jokes, I'm getting that crown. And I don't know, Alex, what part of Michael Scott do you think you represent?
I have no idea.
Well, hey, I'll stop derailing everything here. Alex, why don't you take it away? What are we talking about?
So today is a Wednesday. We're recording this Wednesday, May 13th? May 13th.
Yeah.
Perfect. So it's Bizarre Adventures. And we're actually sticking to sports this week. We are watching the best Netflix series, or one of. There's great. Netflix has so many good series.
Say,
Has some damn good Netflix series. Formula One's Drive to Survive. We watched season 2. There's 2 seasons. There's supposed to be filming a 3rd season, but there's no Formula One, so we don't know what's happening. But I'd love to see a 3rd season anyways. So what are your first thoughts on this show? Adam, go first.
oh man, I have a lot. First of all, I love the series itself. I'm not gonna watch F1 racing now. Nothing against it. It's still not my cup of tea, but I loved the series, and I think my biggest takeaway from it was, and I mean this in the nicest way, the principals, or I guess you could kind of say he's like the coach slash GM of the team,
Yeah.
and the drivers themselves have such attitude about them, and I love it so much. Like flat out saying, like flipping off the Netflix camera crew, using some other vulgar language towards Netflix.
Yeah.
They were breaking some third wall there, but even with the episode that focused a bit more on Mercedes and Toto Wolff is the name of the principal of Mercedes,
That
and
is
how
his
there was
name?
who had the Sun reporter from the UK, and how he was just flat out saying, "I'm not going to give you a headline," and I loved it because we see it so rarely with hockey and John Tortorella. Seeing just everyone in F1 being like that was such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Daniel?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I had very limited understanding of Formula One, but going into this, like, I was hooked. The show is, I think we talked about it before, like, the scenes, like, the cinematography and all of this. It makes me want to watch it, but at the same time, too, like, same thing Adam said, the personalities. I kind of felt that it really kind of carried it, or how, like, each team kind of goes, like, this is what we want to do, but this is the reality. Like, the big one that kind of hit me was, like, Haas. I really researched that after. I don't know, it reminded me of like the Atlanta Thrashers in a way.
Okay.
That like, they did what they could. They had these high expectations for themselves, but like all these things just kept happening all at one time, but they still had to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, like we talked about people like Lewis Hamilton, like, that guy, larger than life personality, but like in a good way.
He's so nice.
I know, or like the balance between everything, like the team principal, the expectations per every Grand Prix, like what goes on. It just, I found it amazing.
Yeah, and I was going to get to this later, but since we brought it up now, there's a lot of personality in F1. And our podcast is generally pretty much hockey podcast. And I think it's something we talk about, like we've talked about multiple times, and like there is zero personality in hockey. And the people who do have personality, they generally get crapped on for it. Like we'll use the biggest example in recent memory. Now I think the tide is starting to change. You look at the younger guys in the bigger markets, don't get crapped on as much. But if we're going back a few years, PK Subban when he was in Montreal, and even for those few years in Nashville, his personality, because his performance on the ice didn't match the expectation, all the fans would literally just crap on them because we're not used to that personality. Whereas in F1, you see a lot of personality, even from the guys from the, let's say, like the worst team, which is Williams. Those guys have some type of personality too. It's not necessarily as strong as someone from Mercedes, like Lewis Hamilton, or someone like Daniel Ricciardo, but they still have that personality. So, what, like, in your opinion, like now looking at both hockey and looking at a sport like F1, where there's just tons of personality, would you rather see no personality or F1 type personality?
Go ahead, Daniel.
I think, like, for me, the way I kind of just saw it was they have this, like, swagger to them that they kind of have to have it in with their skills, because there's only so many, like, Grand Prix they have every season that they can show for themselves. Like, I think they were talking about, like, you messed up, like, the first two races, and then, the guy's like, we might sack you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very competitive. Extremely competitive.
Yeah.
There's 20.
What you like? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying there's 21 races throughout the year, and there's 20 seats.
That's crazy.
Not a lot.
One thing I got to me, I think I forgot who it was. It might be Pierre Gasly, but it was kind of crazy. I forget about the cost to Formula One. Like, apparently he caused
$2 million.
over 2 million. 2 million, was it euros?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, in damages.
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm like, wow.
Those cars are very expensive. Like, extremely expensive to produce. I'll find out. I remember
That's like
reading
something like-
I remember reading an article about it. I'll find it. So continue what you were saying before, sorry.
Oh yeah, it's just like these things that like when you said like the bar is so high and like the competitive level every race, like, you know, they expect you to kind of drive this way, but it's so easy. Like I think when we like, okay, this one example I have, like we play a video game and you're like,
Yeah.
maybe you bump a guy or something, but you keep going in the video game. But in like
Yeah.
Formula One, like in reality, like you bump the guy with your tires, like no, I gotta stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one. Like, what was the two? Sorry, Alex, but like the two Ferrari guys
Yes.
Yeah,
bumped each other, and like you couldn't drive anymore. And even when they like, how many times you play a racing game and you've like hit the edge of the racetrack and you just keep going? Those
Yeah.
guys, done. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, the cars are very delicate and the tires are very different than the tires that are on our cars, because they're trying to get as much grip to the ground as possible so they can just
They're
keep
like-
moving. And they look shiny. If you look at them new and they just put them on, they kind of look shiny. I don't know if you noticed that as well, but that's something I noticed. Okay, so Adam, F1 personality or NHL personality? Which one?
Oh, 100% to go to F1 and look at how everything there is. It's, you know what, I love Lewis Hamilton because of how genuine he seemed as a person, but it's just because he stood out so much because of that. You know, a lot of times when I saw him talk, I thought, at first I thought, man, this is like your typical athlete, you know, given the credit, courtesy. And no, it's just because that's how genuine a person he is, and he stands out because everyone else is just so themselves, right? And you talk about PK Smith. I want to talk about his personality has helped grow the game. There are people I know, and I've told this story before, that when Subban got traded out of Montreal, I had some friends of mine text me who hate hockey. But they knew who PK Subban was, and it was such a shock when he got dealt that they reached out to me and said, Adam, what is going on here? And it's that point that personality helps grow the game. So I absolutely want this kind of personality in the NHL because it's going to help grow a sport I love. And I mean, Austin Matthews is becoming a star so quickly in Toronto because of his personality as well. I'll go away from the Montreal stuff there. Drew Doughty, say what you want about him. People talk about him because he shows his personality. Alexander Ovechkin's another one too. So I absolutely want more F1 type personalities in the NHL.
It's funny the conversation we're having, and if you think about, I feel like all the conversations we have about Drew Doughty is, man, you need to stop talking. Right? Whereas
Yeah.
someone makes a comment in F1, man, I want to hear more from that guy. And I think that's kind of, for me, that after I watched all 10 episodes, it was like, wow, like we have a very different style of like what we want to hear from players. Like I think for me, it was very like, okay, if you're an actual player and you don't just say stupid things, then I want to hear you talk. Whereas, man, like I just want to hear people talk. Like if you look at F1, like you can go to any country. If there's most people will know what F1 is. If I go to like just pick a South American country.
Chile.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chile. If I ask someone what F1 is, they'll be able to tell me. If I ask them what the NHL is,
Yeah.
I'll get no response. Now, is that because
That's very
hockey's not
true.
no? And I get there's hockey's probably not as popular in Chile as like let's say Canada, but man, is that because of the personality or is that because of the game? I mean, there's a mix of both, obviously. But my next thing is, what would it be like to see a documentary or a series like this in the NHL?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you'd get anything. You would have. It couldn't be on just a general. It just couldn't be on the team. You would have to do it on certain players. You would have to, first of all, if you did this kind of series for the NHL and you didn't follow PK, man, it would be, there's nothing there. I mean, we've seen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just say the 24/7 series.
Mm-hmm.
Even that, like Montreal had like a 24 Sayash stuff, right? And I enjoyed it, but there was still nothing there. Again, it was just PK, and everyone else is just like, there's Carey Price just doing a random little dance, and here's Michel Therrien getting mad because PK turned the puck over. There's still.
Well,
nothing.
And I remember the Leafs had a 24/7, and I think Randy Carlyle was there at the time because it's the best clip ever. When Kessel and Bozak come late to practice, and and Randy Carlyle makes a joke, and Phil Kessel goes, "Good one, Randy, good one." That's the best moment that's literally the best moment, and it's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, like that's why Steve Dangle gets so mad about the Wes McCauley stuff. Is we think Phil Kessel eating hot dogs is hilarious. That's hot.
Yeah, I don't know.
What did that say? I also think it's a culture thing that in Europe we're a lot more. Daniel, you'll remember this. Alex, I think every lab looked at this in first year. Remember we had to watch an interview that NBC did with Russell Brand.
Oh yeah.
Man, and I got so mad because everyone in our lab was ripping on it. And I don't know if you remember this, Daniel. I had my hand up for like 10 minutes, and Shanaz never picked me. Because there's a certain difference in culture between North America and Europe. It's like a completely different place, especially like the UK guys. Like, people got mad at Russell Brand because he was insulting like the NBC panel, was making some remarks towards one of the female hosts. When in the UK, that's completely normal. When they start the interview off ripping Russell Brand, like joking he's a messiah complex, that's what it's like in England, right? It's part of the sense of humor. And I would say there's also a big cultural difference in Europe and just how fanatical they are about this kind of stuff. And maybe, again, it's kind of this thing of just Canada loves hockey, and it's like Canada itself is not really a bombastic place.
You know what the thing is with, and I understand why Steve Dangle's not like the whole Wes McCauley thing. I understand. Like, the whole point is I don't want to hear from a ref. Like, the only time you think about in other sports, the only time you ever want to hear from a ref is if they're making a call. Like, let's use F1 as an example. The only time you ever hear from their referee who makes decisions on, did this guy cut a corner, did this guy do that, etc., is when they're making a decision. And it's not like he's making a joke about it. And that's and in my opinion, that's what Wes McCauley do. He's trying to make light of the situation where that's not your job. The job of the ref is to make a call. The players should be the ones who should be showing their personality. So
yeah, I think that kind of shows. Sorry, Alex.
No, and that's, I think, the downfall of the league, where we're resorting to the funniest moments of an NHL year aren't the players, but are the referees, who aren't supposed to be the biggest part of the game.
For sure. I think, like, with me too, like, that balance between personality, because, like, with F1 drivers, there's only like 2 per team, so I kind of feel that there is always that huge focus on that. Like, the dynamic, I want to get back to you after, but what I kind of feel with that is we could really look at, like, these are the guys, and, like, this is what they want to kind of express. And even, like, the difference on one team, they're so completely different from one another as well. They kind of complement each other in a way, but at the same time, I think, when they have that team focus in hockey, it becomes that thing where I think we've talked about before, like hockey culture, where, not like the super negative ones of it, but the ones where, that team identity, like, you do it for the team, and, you kind of keep it light. Like, I know right now towards, like, the whole closure and everything, when it came to media, they were even kind of, like, saying, like, we should probably close that off a bit more to, like, the locker rooms, right? So, like, that's what I kind of think about.
That was because of the pandemic.
Yeah, but I know, like, even towards, like, even before that, there were, like, times where they were kind of limiting media coming into, like, the locker room,
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I remember when that happened and there was a big outrage. There was a big outrage towards them saying, "Hey, you can't go in the locker room." If you look at a lot of European-based leagues, even F1, no one goes into the locker room of a soccer team. Like, I've never seen it done in Europe. They send players out. Look at F1. They didn't really show it as much, but you can go watch most press conferences on the F1 YouTube channel. They say, okay, these players are these drivers are coming out. These drivers are coming out. These team principals are coming out. You can ask them questions then, and they get some pretty good stories. So. And it's not like they don't have the ability and say, hey, I want to talk to this driver. Right? You saw it happen towards the end with Alex Albon when he moved to Red Bull. Right? So I understand why it's important here because that's part of I guess the way people are writing, how they get their information. But it's possible to get it the other way.
Yeah.
Adam?
I kind of think too.
Oh. Sorry, I just thought about that. No. I mean, I couldn't stop thinking about the Pro Hockey Writers Association, that dumb statement they made about, right when the pandemic was starting, of saying we're gonna fight to get this access, right? It was so dumb, and I'm thinking back to every time they would do an interview, right? It was either. When they first talked to the Red Bull driver about his mom's, the history of his mom, and right away he was like, no, that's not what we talked about. Even in that scenario, the setting of the interview was, pre-set up and this private little setup. Even when they talked to him after he had, I think he didn't have a podium finish, when they asked him about, I'm so bad with the names. Who was the French Red Bull driver who lost his
Pierre
spot?
Gasly. Pierre
So
Gasly. When
they asked him about Pierre Gasly, even that's it's a press conference type interview.
Yeah.
When they talked Toto Wolff about what that British reporter talked about, press conference. The Williams principal about what was wrong with the car. Press conference. It's a very good point, Alex. That we don't need it. And I would hate if I'm a player. That's my locker room. Yeah. Should be my private area. Again, you talk about soccer too. I've never seen or heard of a reporter being in the clubhouse for the ML. So.
Okay, let's move on. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be a driver. Were there any player... I'm so used to players. Are there any drivers, or were there any teams, or are there any people who stood out to you in this series? And which one was your favorite? Which person was your favorite?
I have two.
Of course you do.
Okay, Daniel, why don't you start?
I like Carlos. Was it Sainz?
Carlos Sainz.
Sainz.
Yeah, Sainz.
Carlos
Sainz.
Yeah, I really like them. I think he has that. He doesn't have the boring personality, I'll say, but he has the one that it's the more determined one. He's I know what I need to do, and what I have to work on. He talk the talk.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the other part. It's too cliche, but he showed he put in the work at the gym. He actually showed his diet about what he wants to eat, what he has to eat, what he does with his trainer, how he has a relationship with him. I don't know if it's a bias, but that he drove the McLaren? I forgot the car that he drove to the grocery store.
He drove a McLaren, yeah.
Yeah, what is it the?
I don't know. I don't remember which one it was.
I think it was the F1. I don't know. That's something, but that's what I really like that car. So maybe I had a bias towards McLaren. I really like British cars, but I thought I really liked him. I like that he had a good kind of background story in a way. He kind of showed where he gets kind of sacked by Renault because of Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Where he kind of shows this is the balance between my professional career in the sport and what I kind of do on the off season per se, where he goes to stay with family and kind of say, okay, I got to reevaluate what my future is. So I think he had a really good arc with that. My second one is Alex Albon, where that was a really good story. Uh, he was the kind of guy too. Like he does do a bit of a talk, but he doesn't really like go kind of overboard. I kind of thought that with Daniel Ricciardo. Like I didn't like the guy too much. Like
That's
near the
funny
beginning.
you guys say that. Both you and Adam had the same reaction to Daniel Ricciardo, but everyone in F1 loves him.
I just kind of laughed. So we're probably not used to him. I just kind of laughed where he's like, "Yeah, I'm the best," and then they're like, "I'm like hyping it up." I'm like, I this guy didn't finish like 2 races.
Yeah. Daniel Ricciardo's an interesting character, and I know we'll probably get into it because I know Adam. We had a conversation. I don't remember if it was in our group chat or not about Daniel Ricciardo leaving Red Bull, and I think it left a sour taste in with Adam. Because you thought he was running.
I still think he was.
Okay, the thing with that, and I'll try to explain it. I'll probably get some things wrong. The thing with that one is if you go back and watch season 1, it's kind of something they talk about a lot. Because they constantly, him and Max Verstappen are butting heads. And you see it. You see it a little bit in Mercedes. You see it towards the end in Ferrari too, where when you're part of a bigger team, you have 2 really good drivers, and both drivers are pretty much number 1 drivers. Like maybe not Bottas anymore, but Hamilton obviously number 1. Vettel and Leclerc could both be number 1 drivers. And it's like they're constantly butting heads, and the only thing that Ricciardo thought he could do, and just to be fair, it was not the first year that they were butting heads. The year before they were butting heads too. And he's like, I guess his mentality is, I need to kind of leave and be my own. I need to be a number 1 driver, because he's probably one of the top drivers in like Formula 1 right now. He had an off year. I think he made a mistake. I think, in my opinion, and he explained it why he didn't choose them, and he probably made the right choice at the time. He said he had offers from McLaren and Renault, and he chose Renault because McLaren hadn't showed enough. And he was totally right. 2018 was a god awful year for McLaren, but I think if he went to McLaren, he would have done like that team, him and Lando Norris. Then Carlos Sainz would still be at Renault. It'd be a completely different story.
Fair enough.
I could go on for a long time, but
I actually really like Bottas because he realizes his role and he does it well. Like, I've been looking at the standings, and he finished second when it came to drivers, right? And I mean, he still had the second most wins and second most podiums over Verstappen. So, and of course, like, I know he's on a different, like, I'm assuming his role is protect Hamilton's rear, like watch his 6.
pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like, you still have to be good enough to get to that position, right? And I understand that, like, a bit of it is the cars, obviously.
Yeah.
But I really like Hamilton because he was just a genuine guy, and he's a Brit, so of course I love him. But I think my favorite driver has to be Nico Hulkenberg.
Okay.
Just because he does not care. He's got the personality. He's the Joe Thornton, the Henrik Lundqvist, the Marcel Dion. Doesn't have a podium finish. I feel so bad for him, but I love the guy so much.
So you bring up those names, and it really sucks that they didn't bring him up. First, I don't know why they rarely talked about him, but he actually popped up at the end, and I'm going to get the information. Is Kimi Räikkönen for Alfa Romeo, and for some reason they've covered them in season 1, but I guess nothing much really happened in season 2. So Kimi Räikkönen, actually, he's 40 years old. So he's the Henrik Lundqvist of Formula 1. And he's pretty much, he was at Ferrari. I believe he was at Alfa Romeo too. When Lotus had an F1 team as well. He was at McLaren. He's kind of been there since, let's see, what year was he first in F1? 2001.
Damn.
And he's a funny guy to look at, because he's very he's very closed. Like, he reminds me a lot – kind of like Valtteri Bottas, where Valtteri Bottas isn't very open. in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And he also doesn't care. Like, he's like, I don't care. Like, Kimi Räikkönen is like, and you kind of get it from the last clip that he's in at the end of episode 10, where he's like, yeah, like, this guy has a no care attitude. Not in a bad way, but in a good way.
Hey, he realizes, hey, I want to win, does Bottas.
Yeah.
And he's in the perfect position to.
Okay, yes.
Question about, because there was the driver, I believe his name was Russell, the young man on
George
Williams.
Russell? Yeah.
George
George
Russell, okay.
Russell.
Okay, so here's what I'm wondering, because they kept talking about how Toto Wolff and Mercedes love the guy,
Yeah.
and he's like their program. So was Williams like associated with Mercedes?
Okay.
Or what's going on with that?
So Formula One is very interesting because there's all these, right? So the teams, obviously, there's Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, Renault, McLaren, Toro Rosso, Haas, Williams, and I'm missing one, Alfa Romeo, and Racing Point. And they're all kind of connected. So there's not a lot of engine providers. There's Ferrari, Renault, Mercedes, and Honda. 4 engine providers in all of Formula One. Ferrari is Alfa Romeo, Ferrari obviously, Haas, Renault is McLaren, Renault, Mercedes is everyone else.
Okay.
Right, so what you'll end up seeing is Alfa Romeo. So before Charles Leclerc was at Ferrari, he was at Alfa Romeo. Before Lewis Hamilton was at Mercedes, he was at Williams. So really,
Was he?
yeah, he was at. But Williams used to be a good team. Now, not so much. Before
One point.
yeah, before what's his name? Daniel Ricciardo was at Red Bull. He was at Toro Rosso. And I think now his last name, Christian Horner, talked about it a little bit, right? That's why it was so easy for them to switch Gasly and Albon, because Toro Rosso and Red Bull are just Red Bull.
Yeah.
Right? So Formula One is interesting in that way. And that there's just, it's a lot of teams are kind of put together in a way. Not like secretly put together. And then there's also the junior programs, right? So Mercedes has their junior program, Ferrari has their junior program, Red Bull has their junior program. So the young drivers get put into there. Then, like, you look at George Russell signs with Williams. Now, what people are saying is, and this would be my guess too, is that once Valtteri Bottas ends up leaving Mercedes, which could happen within potentially next year, George Russell gets put into the Mercedes seat.
That would, and then the woman at Williams continues to be upset that they lose all their best drivers.
That's the thing. That's the funny part about Formula One, is that they all complain. Like, you heard Zach Brown, I believe that's his name, the McLaren CEO, saying, yeah, like, we want Carlos Sainz to be part of the future for a long time. And Carlos Sainz is probably leaving next year. He's probably going to Ferrari. That would be my guess, or one of the guys touted to go Ferrari. So it's interesting because there's no salary cap, right, or development cap, right? Because you kind of just pay whatever the hell you want. I think the biggest thing in Formula One is yes, the drivers get paid, but developing your car is extremely important. So they brought it up at the end. It was supposed to be 20. What year was it supposed? It was supposed to be this year, but they moved it to next year because of the pandemic. In that you can only spend this much on your cars, right? So that they're trying to limit the gap. They're trying to create parity. in the league. So Ferrari can only spend this much.
no.
And at the end of the day, the teams that are spending the most are Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull because they have the most money. Whereas Williams isn't spending anywhere close to what those teams are spending because they just don't have the money. So it'll be interesting to see what happens then. So
The Red Bull one kind of. Sorry, Alex.
no, go.
Yeah, I didn't know like that whole thing with the Red Bull, like the partnership, because like you see a bunch of like automotive companies, and then you see Red Bull, but then like you see like, oh, they have partnerships with Aston Martin, and they have the Honda engine.
Yeah, they
So
took
like
a
that was
huge
pretty
risk.
interesting. Like,
In my opinion, they took a huge risk in bringing in Honda because Honda had been with McLaren for the last few years at least, and it was just an absolute nightmare. And to come in and say, "Hey, we're going to take Honda," I think it was a big risk, and I think it really did, I guess, pay off in a way, and they had a pretty good season, I think. Other than the whole Pierre Gasly situation, but Max Verstappen, obviously, whole different level.
I'm looking at this Forbes thing.
Yeah.
Over the 5 years that Mercedes won the title, its engine division had average annual cost of $188.1 million, with 145.5 million pounds, bringing the total average spending to $473.4 million.
Yep.
wow.
Imagine.
Holy.
That's insane. They spend a lot of money. Okay, who was your least favorite character?
Go ahead,
Talk
Danny.
about this.
I know Adams, who Adams is.
Okay, like I kind of feel for Daniel Ricciardo in a way. Like
Yeah.
now that we've talked about it, like I don't know, I think like because he was like one of the first main guys they kind of focused on for the series that
Yeah.
he just kind of be like, I don't know, like okay, I'm gonna like do a bit of a throwback to this, but he reminded me of Sergei Fedorov leaving the Detroit Red Wings. Like you leave on
Wow.
bad terms, like you're kind of butting heads with everyone, but like you're always known for the Red Wings, right? Like I like that he went to the Mighty Ducks, but like that was he kind of did that. He kind of did
I
that to
knew
like
it.
to spite the Red Wings, and I kind of felt that like Daniel Ricciardo did that with Red Bull.
Okay.
They won't retire Rob's number now, won't they?
I don't know. I don't think they will. I don't know. That's like
They're-
that's
People.
like is Red Bull going to retire Daniel Ricciardo's car now? I don't know. I'm kidding.
No.
Do they
Uh,
stuff?
They retire numbers, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
But yeah, kind of feel for the guy, but like, I don't know, just kind of that thing where like that superstar signs with like that small market team, and
Yeah.
he might be Marian Gaborik on Minnesota, like,
Wow.
you know,
I didn't
remember
even
when
know he was on Minnesota. So
Gaborik
Really?
started his Gaborik he started his career on the Wild. He
No,
was
no,
like, yeah,
No, sorry. I'm saying that to Alex because
No.
like Gabrick's best years were in Minnesota. Like, he was a star there.
it was like one of those times where when like a small market has like a superstar player.
yeah,
It reminded me of that when he like made that move, or
like Florida with Barkov.
yeah, it's kind of like that. Where
Or Arizona with Ekman Larson.
they're like our fortunes are. Yeah, it's gonna like our fortunes are gonna change just like that. But like, I don't know. Like the first 2 races, he didn't even complete them.
Yeah. So I already know. So who's your least favorite character?
Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo.
Then
But with an asterisk that I feel for the guy.
okay, I can already imagine Adam's answer. I already know for a fact it's Daniel Ricciardo. Sorry.
I have very little sympathy for someone who has a bad day, and the way they deal with their bad day is they go out and sail on their expensive boat and go with their Ferraris and their expensive cars. I feel so bad for him. Oh no, I'm
So
only making.
It wasn't
5
Daniel
mil-
Ricciardo.
Oh no, it was him, and I didn't like the younger Ferrari driver.
You didn't like Charles Leclerc.
No,
Why is that?
maybe it's more of me being a hockey guy. I like the old vet needs to have more respect. They're both pretty bad. They both are detriments to each other. I think you go with the young guy, by the way, if you're Ferrari, and you said the other guy.
Oh,
if you
they
don't,
already
if you
have.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. It's funny that I brought it up. We that were watching it this week yesterday, because next year there's a whole slew of F1 drivers who are out of contracts, and one of them happens to be Sebastian Vettel. And yesterday they announced that they are not going to be extending his contract.
That must suck for him because he really wanted to win there.
It's been an issue.
Oh, but we feel bad. He's only making $35 million.
Yeah, but you could do the same thing with hockey players. And
how long is Lewis Hamilton under contract for?
Next year. But
he signed 2 years.
2020. His contract comes up at the end of this year, but he's going to re-sign with Mercedes. That's all but in stone.
How long do drivers usually go? Until 40s?
Yeah, they last a little bit longer than hockey players, or they have the ability to last a little bit longer than hockey player, or just the general athlete.
You'd think it's just as long as their hand-eye would keep up with them, because of the high speeds, right?
Well, not even just hand-eye, but the ability to handle the G-force. If you think about it, imagine going over 300 kilometers an hour. And imagine the vibration of the wheel just constantly shaking, and you're holding on to it.
Alex, you don't do that on Yonge Street?
No, I can't go 300 kilometers an hour. I wish.
Buddy, we take the subway. They'll tell you that.
Oh, that's true. I take the subway too. That's the fastest I'm going. I don't know how fast the subway goes, but those are my top limits.
When we pick up those Golden Star orders,
just rip it down Yonge Street.
Vroom.
I love F1.
You made me a fan.
I know Adam isn't going to watch it. Are you going to watch it when it comes back?
Yes, I will. I mean, I'll do my best. I don't think I could be someone that goes right into the circuits.
Yeah.
The circuit and go I'm gonna schedule. They're coming back. They come back to Montreal.
Yeah.
I look at the stats.
Montreal.
I would go to Montreal. I've been dying to go to Montreal.
Right, guys.
I had pardon?
It's a great city, by the way.
Yeah, I had. I kind of used to watch it when I was younger, and then I got back into it a few years ago. I missed a whole lot. I love Formula One, and I love playing the video game because it's the fastest I can go in a car.
What do you mean Mercedes are good now? What did I miss?
Yeah, man. There are two Canadian drivers. Well, there's one in this series, and it pissed me off. They didn't look at him in Lance Stroll. And guess where he's from?
Quebec?
Montreal.
Hey!
Adam's favorite.
Yeah.
There's also Racing Point, but because his dad owns the team.
Is he not good?
No, he's good. He's a good driver. I just don't think he's Racing Point good.
I love describe every driver. Is he quick? Yes, but can he do anything else?
Yeah, and they kind of explained that. They looked at when they looked at Alex Albon versus Pierre Gasly, and they showed the one scene where Alex Albon takes that risk. It's are you gonna take that risk and hit the brakes late? If yes, you can survive. That was kind of the whole mentality.
I'll tell you, I was so mad at Pierre Gasly watching those Red Bull episodes. Just go for it, man. Just do it.
We kept saying, push, Pierre, push.
Yeah.
Man, thank God he ended up getting the Toro Rosso second place. I felt really good, really happy for him. But man, and I just wanted to punch him and be I want to love you. Just do it.
I know his parents sacrificed so much for him in that's
everyone.
backstory.
Hey, that's everyone's backstory. Don't pretend like it was just his.
Well, he got to come back because his friend died.
Yeah. And Talia Bear.
And
yeah.
Bear.
Yeah.
It's pardon?
No, sorry. I was gonna say that was tough, especially when you see the clip of the Lewis Hamilton interview.
Yeah.
And how he's too distracted by the thing in the interview. Sorry, go ahead. It was surreal.
I forgot what I was gonna say. You know who I really enjoyed in this series, though?
Who?
The journalist.
Yeah, that guy's
Did
great.
you not like the journalist in
That
this
was
series?
What
This
was his
guy-
name?
Will Buxton. Guy dumbed
Yeah.
down everything.
Yeah, he was good.
And that's
Good context.
love it.
That's the guy you want to be like. You know who else is pretty jokes? The Haas principal.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
So
Went off the
What's his
rails
name?
like
What's
how
his
many
name?
times?
I don't remember his name. I'm gonna find out.
I love you all, but you suck.
Or when he says I'm gonna
Fuck.
sack. When he says I'm gonna like he's like, you know, I'm not afraid to sack. Like he like we have yelling at the engineer.
Gunter Steiner.
Yeah.
He's great. I love that dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. There's a lot of. It's so different than hockey because I literally love every single person in this series.
Yeah.
Whereas in
Yeah.
hockey, you're not gonna get that because they're all freaking closed and don't tell you what they actually think. You got to get pucks deep, you know.
Think
get
about
pucks
this,
deep.
right? The Red Bull coach made a joke about changing Pierre's diaper
Yeah.
and gladly laughed about it on camera. And think about if that happened in the NHL.
Well, you wouldn't find out about it
Exactly. Unless it was Tortorella.
unless it was Tortorella, because he'd say it in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I
He'd
mean,
say
but
it from
perhaps he needed exchanges out there.
Were there any moment? What was your favorite moment of the series?
Ooh. Let's see.
While you're thinking, Dan,
Adam, go. You go. I'm still thinking. There's too many good ones.
when Nico crashed and didn't get his podium finish, because I felt so horrible for him.
That
And
was
the,
your
like, the-
favorite moment of the series.
Yes, because it was heartbreaking in all the right ways. Yeah, right.
You monster.
I mean, I'm not
you
trying to be a good
monster.
person now. Yeah, no, it was good because it starts off. You're probably not going to do. Then, like the music, the shots. It's an excellent thing of cinematography, but it just. I won't lie. The heartbreak was fantastic. I won't lie.
You monster.
All right, I got one. My whole thing was the Monaco Grand Prix, like the way they talked about like the difficulty with it.
Yeah.
Like it's in a way it's like their proving ground, and the fact that like, you know, like we gotta get it here, and like the setup for it, I think was like Daniel Ricciardo saying like, you know, I won it here before,
Yeah.
I want to win it again. That was great. I think that was an amazing story arc.
Looked cool too. I like
Yeah.
how it looks. Yeah,
Oh,
and
it's
Pierre
such
still
a-
couldn't do anything.
It's such a difficult course. I mean, it's a difficult course in the game. I can't imagine.
I got to experience it now. I got to buy the game.
Oh, I can't imagine what it's like in real
What's the
life.
game called?
Formula One 2019. Then we can play together. Oh, you don't. Never mind. Never
I gotta buy
mind.
an Xbox.
You don't have. You don't have. So disappointed.
Xbox.
So
I don't have an
disappointed.
Xbox.
You know what my favorite moment was?
What was it?
It was the Brazilian Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz starts in 20th and finishes in 3rd place for his first podium.
Yeah, that was good.
I think that's just a huge bias because I really like McLaren. That's probably
Y'all love
probably it. I love McLaren.
I'm saying that now, and I can't even remember the name of the car.
I don't know. I don't love the. I love the Formula One team.
Oh, I found it.
Okay.
McLaren P1.
P1.
That was the one that Carlos was driving at the grocery store. I always loved that car. In orange.
Oh, a orange
Man,
McLaren.
He didn't know where the trunk was.
It's at the front, was it not? I'm pretty.
I know. That's because the engine's in the back because it's
Yeah.
too big. You idiot! How do you not know where the trunk is?
Hey, don't diss my favorite driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you can do about it? You gonna make an honorable mentions list?
Yes, honorable mentions.
You gonna make a top 10 list of your favorite goalies with Carey Price as the honorable mention?
Oh my god.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
You know,
write an article about it.
these guys are awful. There's a couple guys that they didn't talk much about. Obviously, they didn't talk about Lance Stroll. I brought that up earlier. They didn't talk at all about Alfa Romeo. I would have loved to heard about Alfa Romeo. They didn't talk about Racing Point, so Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll. There was last year, and I would have loved to heard more about it. What it was like this year. Last year, it was Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon, who was Mercedes' reserve driver, and they talked about him a little bit in 2 of the episodes, and the entire season it was just them butting heads, like just butting heads on when they were driving, and then it ended up like they said. Then Lawrence Stroll, which is Lance's dad, bought the team and said, "Hey, I'm bringing my son in," and there was like no questions asked. This is just how it's working. What was the other one that I wanted to talk about? Now it's not coming to me. I feel. Oh, Haas. They didn't talk about it this year, but Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean, they butted heads too. And it's funny, they did talk about it this year, and I think both of them came out and said, yeah, this Netflix series made it look a lot worse than it actually is. And I have a feeling they're both lying, but I could understand where they're coming from, where maybe they're actually not lying. Because if you look at a lot of the drivers, they are butting heads with their own teammates.
But it is in the heat of the moment, right?
And it's part of the driving, right? It's part of being a part of the team, right? Like, yes, you're on the same team, but you're also competing with each other.
You know what it reminds me of? Like things I would want to see in the NHL, or I can compare it before. Like I guess Roberto Luongo and Corey Schneider. Like I would have wanted to see more of that. I know it was like a fun competition, or like Philip Grubauer and Braden Holtby. Like I can't see Braden Holtby joking the same way as Lou or Corey Schneider.
Yeah, Holtby doesn't have much about him, does he?
Yeah, so that's what I kind of feel.
He's a weird guy.
Well, because he's a goalie.
Don't you want to see that on camera?
Yes, I'd love to just see goalies. I'd love to see a documentary series just on NHL goalies, because I feel like out of anyone, those guys have the most personality because they're just freaking weird.
Here's Carey Price fishing 10 hours. Yeah. Here's Carey Price.
Think about.
What reminds me of.
No, I was just saying. Think about it like this: remember the All-Star game? Think about an All-Star game. Who's the best? The answer is the goalies, and I'll tell you why. Carey Price, I don't remember what year it was. They were still doing the shootout, the better version of the shootout, not what they're doing now.
The breakaway challenge.
Yeah, the breakaway challenge. Carey Price turns around and faces the boards and still saves it. If you tell me any better moment of that year's All-Star game, you know what? You're just wrong.
I think that was 2015 in Columbus, and it was the one. Was that the year where they someone? I think it was Nick Foligno someone brought out their kid or something to do the shot, and then Nick Foligno or somebody and Johnny Gaudreau imitated it because Johnny Gaudreau looks like he's 16.
I have no idea. Yes, it might have been that year.
Yeah, but yeah. But I mean, if we want to keep talking about how wicked Carey Price is, I'm glad. I'm so down to do that.
No, it's okay. No, I'm okay.
He's just a perfect human being in every way, shape, or form.
This is the last thing I wanted to bring up. It's related to F1, but it's not about the series. You know who's doing the best job at entertaining people with no sports?
Who?
Formula One. Because they're doing virtual races on the game. On the game, and they're putting it on TV.
And who's winning?
Well, they have so some people are like professional YouTube drivers. And they actually have I think at this point it's like 4 or 5 actual F1 drivers. There's a couple F2 drivers. But it's like, I guess because it's one of the more realistic games in that you can actually, I guess, imitate in a way. Like, if you do you want to watch John Tavares play NHL 20 with a controller, or do you want to watch Sebastian Vettel sitting down in a chair with a racing wheel and pedals?
The F1 game when you can mess up your teammates' race in video game as well as real life.
Is it like a career mode where it's like you have to butt heads with like your teammate?
Yes, I'm on
to be
season,
number one or
I'm
something?
on season 2.
Oh man, I should do
It's
that.
either me or Hamilton. You choose right now.
No, it's not like that. I love that. But I played last night. I finished a race. I love this game so much.
It's nice. Sounds fun.
It is, I know Adam doesn't like
You've
it. I can
intrigued
tell.
me.
I can tell Adam doesn't like Formula 1.
No, it's not. Well, no, it's,
No, I'm not judging you. Oh, I might be, but I'm not judging you.
yeah.
No judgment.
I love it as a documentary series.
Yes.
I really do. All I'll say.
Do you know what?
I respect Formula One.
Yeah, that I think, watching this documentary or the docu-series, I think for me, I gained a lot more respect for the actual drivers because, there's all this talk of, oh, is F1 a sport? Is F1 not a sport? Are they athletes? Are they not athletes? But to take that G-force, to have to, it's not like you're not fit. Like, you can't just throw me in a car and say, hey, figure out how to drive this car. Like, I will not figure it out.
Well, not with that attitude.
Adam, okay, you know what? In my current state, in my current fitness level, I could not drive a Formula 1 car. There's a lot more to it than just driving the car. Like, I think they show it a lot.
You know what I've always appreciated about driving? And it's the pit stops and how quick those guys are.
Yeah, those guys are insane.
Like, what was it? The average is 2 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah, the guy was like, Lewis Hamilton was like there for like a minute.
Man, I felt that.
I was so like
It
it made
felt
me
like a long
antsy that
time.
part. Yeah.
Because even growing up, I've seen some racing, and so I've always known they were quick. But then the moment they said a minute, even I knew oh no,
Yeah.
it's brutal. And God, that whole racer Hamilton was such a mess.
He's so calm though when he answers like, sorry guys, understood.
You
There's
also
something wrong.
the little courtesy. At the end of the hockey team, everyone gives the goalie the tap. You start seeing the little common courtesy at the end of the race. The racer will always message into the crew saying, "Yeah, good job, guys, thanks," and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
You
I bet
should-
Ricardo's the last one to do it.
No, you have such a bone to pick with this guy. If you go on YouTube, they'll do best moments throughout the race, and they'll put in a YouTube video, and it'll be the radios. It's so funny. Some guys get so
Yeah.
mad. It's awesome.
I just realized it made me laugh.
What?
That I didn't think Adam would like Pierre Gasly because the guy kept looking at stats after every race.
I thought the
Man.
same thing.
when he said that, I thought, oh, what's Alex thinking of right now? He's probably getting ready to make fun of me. No, I liked Gasly because he's French, really,
Mhm.
and I was just frustrated with him because
Yes.
he wouldn't take the risk, but he did at the end, so I love him.
That's the
Redeemed
thing. Is
himself.
And I think both him and Ricardo had a very not similar. You know what? I'd say they had similar experiences going into different teams, and Ricardo brought it up too. And man, it's not the same feeling, with the cars, the gas, the brake. If you and I've noticed this too. If I'm driving my car versus driving my mom's car. The gas and the brake and the steering wheel all feel different. And I can imagine for them, they're so set. I imagine they're extremely sensitive to this because they can make the most minute change and it can make a big difference.
Mhm.
So I can imagine where that's and getting used to stuff like that. So yeah, you feel for those guys. And when it comes to the stats, listen, man, all I'm saying is stats are important. But also the eye test is important, and the instinct is important. And I think the Red Bull team principal said it better than I could, saying you have to trust your instinct. You can't just rely on the data. You have to say, yeah, here's the data, but this is how I want to do it. So that's
I would, in all seriousness, I would actually give more credence to advanced numbers in racing because it literally is, as the drivers had said, it's milliseconds you're looking at.
yeah, it's insane. Like they're talking about tenths of a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow. Like just like I don't think you look at how much of a distance a full second behind can create. And like 1 sec, like it's like 1 second goes and it's like wow, and you're that far apart.
Yeah.
Like it just creates like damn, these cars are going super duper fast.
Mm-hmm. I mean, was it the other driver for Williams, the older gentleman?
Robert Kubica. I don't know how to say his last name.
They showed the picture of his crash.
Yeah.
And it was like his car was like, you remember in Yu-Gi-Oh there was the polymorphous card and it would like combine them. It was like the railing and his car had fused together.
Yeah, it was bad.
The speed that you have to be going at for that to happen and that he can survive and, as the reporter said, still manage a car is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Those
Something
guys are
to consider.
athletes.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions. Do you guys have any questions for me?
When is season 3 coming out?
Damn, I want to know because it's going to be a darn good season, and not just because of the pandemic, but because there's going to be, there could be so much movement. Like obviously,
free agent frenzy.
Yeah, and this year obviously there wasn't a whole lot. I'm going to pull it up right now. The only real difference that you'll notice is obviously Esteban Ocon goes into Renault and what's his name? Nico Hulkenberg. Sorry. Nico Hulkenberg comes out. Sorry, Adam.
Feels Hoglander.
and Williams, Robert Kubica isn't there anymore, and Nicholas Lafiti, sorry, my God. Lafiti comes in, who happens to be Canadian.
Hey!
And from Montreal.
Hey!
And Adam has his favorite.
Yeah.
That's Adam's new favorite team, Williams.
All right, who's your favorite, Alex?
Yeah.
My favorite driver?
Your favorite team?
My favorite team is McLaren.
Okay.
Why?
Why? Well, they had so when I started getting back into F1, they had a driver by the name of Fernando Alonso, who was very good.
Two first names.
He was probably one of the best drivers ever, and he had such a and at the time McLaren also wasn't a very good team. They used to be very good. They just haven't been good. They had Honda. Honda hadn't seemed to be reliable. And then last year they brought in Renault. I believe it was last year. Yeah, last year they brought in Renault. It was a very different team. Obviously, Carlos Sainz Jr. is a great driver, probably going to end up leaving. They have a guy who they really didn't talk about, and I really wish they did, in Lando Norris, he's quite young. I don't remember how old he is. He might be a couple years older than me.
Was that the guy who at the end was like, no, they ignored me the entire season, bleep Netflix?
It might have been. Lando Norris is Adam. He's your age. I don't know how that makes you feel, but
Well, okay, hold on a minute. Hold on, right? Okay, first of all, Daniel's older than both of us. Every time I bring up Shane being my age, Alex makes a joke of, you're older than me, but now you're going to turn it on me like that.
Well, what do you mean? You always bring it up saying, oh, he's my age, and it makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying.
I feel like you're trying to make me feel bad about myself.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just saying, man, you must feel old. Like we were talking about the guy, Shane Wright, was born in 2004.
That was tough. No, you know what's really funny? A friend of mine, I don't know if I told you this, a friend of mine texted me on my 20th, and God, she just kept ripping me. It was hilarious. She's like,
so mean.
So Wayne Gretzky retired 20 years ago. I'm like, don't you dare start.
I would,
just a bunch
I would never do that to Adam.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. She was like, And I remember I texted back. I'm like, yeah. Gretzky's retirement ceremony was a month after I was born, which is really it was funny. I'll tell you that. But then Daniel, you're older than both of us.
I know. When I was born, Doug Gilmore was still in juniors, I think.
Okay. So was there color on the
I'm kidding. There was no color on the TV yet.
Were the Spitfires developed yet?
Yeah. No, not yet. Every car was manual, you know. It was
Wow. God damn. Daniel's old.
Crazy post-war era.
What's it like, Daniel, to have lived through the Spanish flu and coronavirus?
I know, it's pretty crazy. You know, you're like, you know, you never think these things happen again, but you know, well, you're dealing. You know, it's easier now with the podcast.
How about the Black Plague?
You didn't have that back then.
Let's go farther. Since we're just making Daniel like
I know.
Gandalf.
Before Canada was a thing.
We're making Daniel Gandalf age over here. How old?
I know.
How old was Gandalf?
Oh, Gandalf was like. I actually was his teaching assistant, you know, at the time.
So now we're just crossing into the realm of fantasy. Were you there when King's Landing was burned to the ground by Daenerys Targaryen?
Oh my god!
Yeah, I remember when it was so beautiful, you know, when there was peace in the kingdom.
Man, I'm not gonna. If you've watched an episode of Game of Thrones, you know how terrible that statement was. Nothing is peaceful in that show. Nothing.
I know.
You should watch it.
I did. I read the first 2 books and watched the first 3 seasons.
Keep watching. Oh, where are you in Clone Wars?
Like
still
episode 5.
I don't think I want the answer after that laugh.
You're at season 1, episode 5.
Yeah, I got a.
He was at season.
He
was episode 3 like 2 weeks ago.
I got into The Mandalorian more, to be honest.
The Mandalorian's only 8 episodes.
I know.
What are you doing? You have all the time in the world.
I know. I've been dedicating it to Formula 1.
We've
known about Formula 1 for.
I know. Like, that's my new thing.
I swear, next Wednesday, Daniel's just gonna be coming in with random facts my way with Formula 1. Did you?
To be honest, to be honest, my semester really just ended because I had coursework until like May. Well, what day was Friday? Wow, I'm losing track.
Man, I thought it was Thursday on Tuesday. I won't lie to you. Man, hey Alex, you know we should do nothing on the 17th because nothing's going on, nothing important.
I mean, but the 16th is Jean-Sébastien Giguère's birthday.
Oh, best goalie ever. What?
So if you enjoyed this episode,
yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about the series?
I'm gonna buy the video game.
Are you actually gonna buy the video game? Or
I think so.
I have this feeling we're gonna wait 3 weeks and then he's still not gonna buy the video game, just like he still hasn't won his Lego.
Can we mention that?
I bought my Lego. I bought it yesterday.
You did.
Yeah.
Well, Lego was, I believe I remember the price of your Lego, right? And I'm thinking, so let's think about this for a second, Alex, right? Let's say that Daniel sold his PlayStation and also had the money from his Lego, how he could have an Xbox right now. Even if he just kept his PlayStation and used the money from the Lego, it wouldn't be that much more to get an Xbox.
And play NHL with us. And then and then Daniel, we can play Formula 1 together.
How about this, Daniel? If you are willing to buy an Xbox One, me and Alex will split the difference.
Wait! Don't get me involved. I never said this. I never agreed to this. I'm not.
No.
Am I getting a surprise on the 17th?
Maybe.
If you buy Xbox One, me and Alex will buy you NHL 20.
It's like $24 right now.
Exactly. Why do you think I'm saying it?
I don't know.
How much is an Xbox One? I just don't have money flying around.
I say you just bought over $100 of Lego.
That's why I don't have money flying around.
Who would have thought that this would happen to us this much? Well, Adam, I know with you. You love Lego.
I don't think I'm buying Lego for a while.
I'm 10 years old at heart.
I
just laughed where I'm like, we talked about Star Wars for so long, and then I got a Batmobile.
Was the Batmobile on
Boy,
sale? Was the Batmobile on sale? Because I don't remember it being that price.
No, like it was always that price, but like I got convinced by Adam's brick to price ratio.
Yeah, it's amazing. What's it like?
Oh
3,000-4,000
my
pieces?
Yeah.
Oh my
That
god!
price? Yeah, that's really good.
That's what got you. The brick to price
You're
What got
ratio.
me.
Like, if I'm the reason you bought it, I think I deserve that Joker minifigure. All right, let's
Oh
end
my
this because
God.
I haven't eaten since I woken up.
Okay. How are
mean,
you
that's
feeling, by the way,
what-
this
11:30?
week?
You know what? I'm feeling better. I will say that. But if I'm standing up for too long, I feel like I'm gonna die. It's very weird. But I'm actually
man.
eating, again, so that's pretty. Thank you for
Alright.
asking. I'm feeling much better. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah.
I
You do
convinced myself, Alex. This I gotta go to Golden Star after this.
Do it.
Hey.
They're still open.
I think there's a skip the dishes coupon, so
Exactly. There
I'll
we
use
go.
that.
For any of our new listeners on their new platforms, and even if you're just new to the show in general, you should know that it's Daniel's birthday on the 17th. So everyone should start wishing him happy birthday. And if you send me money to buy Daniel a gift, he may or may not receive it. But I think we should
The
all do that
Xbox-
anyway.
Is it the Xbox One?
Please e-transfer at adamfluge@gmail.com.
I'm definitely not.
Xbox
putting
made
that
out of
in the
Lego?
description. An Xbox made out of Lego. If it works, man.
Yeah.
We'll build it.
Anyway, we should probably end the episode.
Yes, we should.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want
Thank
me
you,
to do it?
guys.
You want me to do it?
sure. I love how we're like, all right, let's do it. And then Janet's like, bye.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, thank you for listening to another episode of the 2-on-1 podcast. Make sure you like the video if you're listening on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the iTunes, to the podcast, to the Spotify, to the whatever you're listening on. Just if you can subscribe, make sure you subscribe so you can find out when we upload a podcast every Wednesday and every Sunday. Make sure you go and check out the Instagram page because there's going to be some hockey topics, and if you comment, we will read them out loud on this podcast and talk about them. Okay, so make sure I'm gonna say this again. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and follow to the Instagram page. And we're still waiting for this Andrei Markov, Alex Romanov video from Adam. We have no idea when it's coming out, but it's going to be coming out soon. So click the links in the description down below. See you.
It's like
Later.
Kingdom Hearts 3. It's going to be a long time to get out, and it will be it ultimately will be very disappointing.
So by the time it comes out, is all this stuff going to be relevant, or what's the?
In our hearts, it will be relevant.
There's nothing going on. I
'Cause
think it's.
I feel like
irrelevant.
people just stopped talking about Andrei Markov.
Listen. There's nothing else going on in Montreal. Like
Okay.
you forget, I have 12 subscribers, man. Like yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Will be more soon. We believe in it.
See you on Sunday.